Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, and today we're going to be covering the Lorcana singles market. But before we get started, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. We just hit 400 subscribers to the channel, so very much appreciated. And we are having a giveaway for the 500 subscriber giveaway up here in this video here. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that out and get entered in the giveaway for a free custom playmat. Before we get started though, I do want to clarify this is not giving financial advice. This is just me observing what's happening in the market right now and comparing that to other card games who have had similar market releases to this one. So just take all this advice in as it's just information that I am presenting. Don't make any financial decisions based on just what I'm saying here. Make sure you do your own research and ask questions before you make any big financial decisions into any kind of collectible. Now, having said that, we're going to be breaking down a lot of the cards that are in this set. We're not going to be going into every common and uncommon. I will say right now, for just a general view on the commons and uncommons, bulk prices for those cards are still very high. There are a lot of stores that are in desperate need for inventory so that their player bases can play. It is a great time to be selling your excess commons and uncommons off, and to a lesser extent your smaller rares as well. So kind of save a lot of time on reviewing every single card in the format. We're going to be focusing on most of the cards like $5 and up, and just talk about what I normally see with trends like these and what you can kind of expect in the short term and the long term on these particular cards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into those cards. All right, so I'm going to be going through this kind of quickly. There are a lot of cards that I want to get into this video. Starting from the top on their market values and kind of working our way down probably until we get to like the rares. I don't think I need to go into like all the commons and uncommons. But starting with the Enchanteds, the one thing I want to say about the Enchanteds in general is I don't know that I would be a buy on any of them right now. As more of them come into the market, these prices will start to go down. There's also foil and non-foil versions of all of these cards already, so I feel like minus the most extreme of the max rarity people out there, I don't think we're going to see a lot of people trying to acquire play sets of these for their decks that they are playing. I could be wrong, and a few exceptions may pop up, but for example, like the Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer at $315 for a card that's not really that meta even right now. I can't imagine somebody going out and buying multiple copies of it just so they can have them in like a max rarity deck. That is a pretty large investment. These are strictly kind of in the set for the collector demographic, which is fine, and I really do like that aspect of them. But as such, that's kind of going to limit the ceiling on them. I think the max rarity players are going to just tend to gravitate towards the foils. You just don't feel as bad shuffling up, a $100 foil versus, an $800 Spirit of Winter. Now, I will say there have been multiple buyouts for a couple of these cards due to the low population of them online for sale. So if you time one of those buyouts correctly, you could be in a really good position to sell at a very high spot. Having said that, I don't know that I would necessarily move to sell right now either. A big part of that being is we don't really know what this second wave first quarter is going to look like. There has even been some rumors that they may be looking to change the logo on the stamp on the bottom to help prevent counterfeiting of these higher end cards. And if that's the case and these become identifiable as first print run versions of these Enchanted cards, all of these cards could go absolutely through the roof. So I'd probably be a hold on any Enchanteds right now, but I don't think that at these prices there's a whole lot of opportunity for growth minus just pure speculation on that stamp coming out. Now, if you get confirmation of that for the second print run, then I could absolutely see these cards skyrocketing again because there won't be any more of these specific stamped Enchanteds that are printed. But going into our kind of first wave of legendaries here, we kind of have our big four here at the top from Rapunzel to Maleficent. They've pretty much been the big four from the get-go. Rapunzel here has kind of taken the lead as of late. She's been a 4 of in a lot of really popular decks that are coming out. I do think at $60, probably not a great spot to buy in for a whole lot of growth. However, she may still have a little bit of growth to go if she really does emerge as kind of this next tier deck, because the decks that are playing her are pretty much a required four of her in those decks. So if they really do become the mainstream decks, there absolutely could be some opportunity here. I've tested a handful of them, and I don't feel like any of them are any kind of like tier 0. They are good decks, but I don't feel like any of them really have separated themselves to where they must be the deck you play if you really want to be a competitive player. So I think she's at a good spot right now. I would definitely be holding any Rapunzels that I do have, because I don't think she's going to be going down in value anytime soon. But I do think that she's probably a bit high already. If you were able to buy in last week, kind of before the new meta kind of started taking shape, you've already made probably about $10 to $12 in gains on that card. So good pickup then. But moving forward, I don't know that she's got that much more growth on her, specifically because we never really saw the card next that we're talking about have that much opportunity going up to like a $70 card either, when Elsa was kind of the top dog of the legendaries in the format. Now, I do think Elsa is still in a very good spot. She has dropped a little bit here recently. However, her foil continues to climb. I do think she's kind of in a spot. She's not going to go much lower than this, just due to the popularity of the character. And you can really say that across the board for these three, and to a lesser extent Maleficent. I think if she wasn't dragon form, that she would be a much more highly sought after one just from a collector's standpoint. But all three of the princesses are very popular. You know, there's a lot of people who these are their favorite characters, and they're always going to be sought after because of that. So even if they're not playable, these prices are probably not going to go super low. Again, though, at $51 a card right now, I don't know if there's a whole lot of opportunity to gain on them, but I don't see any immediate need to sell off these cards either. Now, Belle is actually a card that's actually seeing some movement northwards right now, and a big part of that is because the decks that play Belle actually counter the steel decks that have been emerging quite well. Steel does not have a great way to deal with Belle immediately, and they don't have a great way to deal with the high toughness characters that Belle is ramping into immediately. Steel also doesn't have the same advantages that the Ruby Amethyst list had by getting cards banished by Let It Go or the Hades effect, putting them closer to their end game. So, like, she has actually emerged as a big gainer this past week. I don't think the deck is going to be strong enough to push her much higher than where she's at right now. So again, I don't think this thing has a lot of upward mobility. And I think all of these princesses are kind of capped around that 60, possibly 65 for their non-foil versions. However, their foil versions across the board have all been going up. However, they are very expensive at about $100 plus each for all of these foils. So just keep that in mind. I think they're good spots to hold. I don't know if they're great spots to buy, because I don't think there's a whole lot of upward mobility on any of those cards. Maleficent, a lot of this is more of the same for Maleficent. She has kind of been the top dog for the Ruby Amethyst list, and now kind of the Sapphire Ruby list that are starting to re-emerge, which is, you know, funny. They were big contenders early on, but it just goes to the health of this game when you talk about like the cycles of these metas and how these cards can hold value, because a lot of these cards are kind of the rock, paper, scissors format, where we may see, like I said, this week, Rapunzel's a big gainer and Belle is a big gainer. If people shift back to that Ruby Amethyst build, we can see both of those cards taking a hit. And this card is kind of a staple in a couple different ones. So I do think that this one's going to be able to hold that value as well. Again, up a little this week. I could see it dropping a little back down, but not too terribly far. Mickey, Brave Little Tailor. I think this card's pretty close to its bottom. It could, with reprints, Q1 next year, get down to probably $20. If it doesn't start to see more play. I know there's an evasive deck that's been going around that plays this, and obviously if Ruby Amethyst comes back into like a main limelight kind of cycle, this card will be a big gainer as well. But again, it's the biggest Mickey Mouse that we have in set 1 as far as high-end rarity goes. I don't foresee him dropping much lower than 20 just from a collector's standpoint, even if he's not relevant in the meta. If you've got one right now, I also don't see him going up much more, so you may want to sell him before reprints come, but I don't think you have any rush to move him at this point. Tinkerbell Giant Fairy is our first super rare entry into this list, and I will say this, I love this card. I think she is one of the best cards in the format. From the moment she was spoiled, I thought she was going to be one of the most powerful cards in the game, and she's not far off from it. Now, at $32 a card, I think this is probably a card to sell now. I think as more inventory is getting opened, and the fact that she is only a super rare versus a legendary on a lot of these, I don't think she's going to be able to hold this $32 price tag. And again, given the fact that this game is so good at checks and balances, I don't think there's a way for Steel to really become so meta-defining that this is like a required 4 of, which is about the only way I could see this card going up from this $32 price tag that it is currently at. So as good as this card is, and I'm not saying it is bad, I think at $32 a card is probably at a sell price rather than a hold or buy price. Hades Infernal Schemer. Now this is a card that we have seen go down quite a bit and then has kind of seen a resurgence here lately. This guy was an early pick for me for being one of the better legendaries in the format just due to his ability. Now obviously with the emergence of the Ruby Amethyst list, this guy took a big hit because you just didn't want to pay 7 to ramp your opponent for them when your real way of combating your opponent was hoping they couldn't get to their top end before you could. But now you've got decks like the Bell Ramp deck making a comeback, and this guy is absolutely an inclusion in that deck. And as such, we've seen a tick up in his price. Now, how viable is that deck long term? That's yet to be seen. I don't think he's going to be going up much higher than this. I could see him retracing back to his lows. I think if this is a card that you are speculating on, it's probably a good time to capitalize in on his popularity right now and move those cards. Stitch Carefree Surfer here. Now this one's kind of a weird one for me because this one is a lot lower than I would have thought the popularity of this character would have allowed. Stitch is a household favorite here, and when I run into people just that are casual fans of the game, Stitch is generally the card that they're most interested in. And you have the legendary Stitch here, which as you can see is barely going for anything more than the super rare Stitch next to it. The card is starting to see some play in some of the Amber lists that are kind of focusing on a more control and late game presence. And the card itself isn't bad, has a lot of opportunity in the future if Amber can move to more of a mid-game or late-game color as well with additional sets. So I think this is a card, honestly, that I would be looking to pick up. It has ticked up a little bit. I think it got down to almost as low as $15 here recently. So it is already starting to move northwards, just based on the fact that it's shown up in a few competitive lists at this point. I think there's an opportunity for this to go up and be one of the bigger cards from the set. When you combine a popular character with a playable card, that's when you get the combination of the $40 and $50 cards that we see up on the list higher up. With that, you have Rockstar Stitch here. I think he's pretty well priced currently. He is the backbone of a lot of Amber decks at the moment. At $20, it seems low compared to some of the other super rares that are less fundamental for those decks. I mean, you've got Tinkerbell, who is just as important for Steel, up there at almost a full $15 a card more than Stitch right now. He is starting to climb. I think, honestly, when everything settles, he'll probably settle around a $12 to $15 card. And if he isn't any higher than $20 right now, I can't imagine him going up any higher than that anytime in the future. If you have extras of these and you're not playing them, this is probably a good time to move those, as people are going to start opening up more product and just more of them are going to start to hit the market. Right in line with that, we've got Lilo Making a Wish. Now, she is dropping a little bit here and should continue to drop. This is a card that would absolutely be on my sell list. And the big reason is she's just a rare. It has nothing to do with the fact of playability, whether she's good, she's bad, indifferent. it just doesn't matter as much because she's a rare, and the rare is the one that's going to be open the most common, is the one that's going to be flooding the market. As you can see right now, we have almost 100 listings for this card. There are just going to be more and more and more that are going to hit. People are going to start getting their 4, and the demand is just not going to be there anymore for all the ones that are going to be opened. The fact that she was able to command this kind of a market price at the rare spot is a testament to just how short supply product is, but more product is being opened, and this card's probably going to continue to drop. If you have extras of them, I would absolutely be moving them now. It's definitely a card that has probably already seen its peak and it's just going to continue to drop from now. And then honestly, I could see it getting under $5 very shortly, even before the Q1 reprints. A Whole New World. This is an interesting one here. Again, it's another super rare. I just find that this particular card is kind of polarizing in the steel builds. They're either building around it to abuse it as much as possible, or they're just completely omitting it from their list. I think the fact that it is not just a guaranteed 4 of in steel and it being uninkable makes me cautious of it at a $20 card. I don't think it's going to maintain that price for very long. I think it is currently a very popular card in combination with the 3-drop Aerial Singer, but I don't think it has got a lot of opportunity to go any higher than the current $20 price tag. We got Cusco next. Now, Cusco is one of my favorite rares in the set, hovering around $15 a card right now. Similar to Lilo over there, though, he's just a rare, and I don't think he can maintain these $15 prices for very long. This is one of probably the higher priority cards, that and the Lilo, that I would be looking to move any extra copies of that I had. Again, we got 118 listings of this card right now, and that number is just going to continue to go up as people get their 4 sets. I mean, I think just from the little amount of product I have opened, I've gotten like 7 extra Cuscos. Like it's a rare card, but that doesn't mean it is rare to open. And this card is, again, probably going to settle closer to like the $3 or $4 range, which is where we see really good role-playing rares end up in a lot of the other TCGs. But again, this is a card that's probably already seen its peak and is just going to continue to fall from here on out. All right, getting to our second page here. We've got Be Prepared. Same as before. This is, again, another great rare, but I think this rare has probably already peaked its value. I don't imagine that we're going to see it back up at that $15 price tag anytime soon. Ruby Amethyst right now is at an influx to where it's less popular, so if it picks back up, we could see a temporary boost in this card. But I think better safe than sorry. If you have extra copies of this card, I would probably go ahead and sell. The Aerial Spectacular Singer is a little odd to me. This card has grown tremendously in popularity here lately, and I think was very undervalued, but for some reason this card has not moved like a lot of the other super rares with the same prevalence behind her. I think at least in the short term, this card has an opportunity to be jumping back up to like that $15 to $17 range. If it doesn't do it soon, though, it's not a card that I would hold long term, as again, just being a super rare is going to limit how much it could possibly go for in the future. Ursula here. Ursula's one of the lower legendaries on the list here. She's one of the lower legendaries, though, that has seen quite a bit of play. I think she has remained undervalued. Now, her foil prices have been shooting up quite high. Again, I think with the legendaries, there's just a group of people out there that are focusing on purchasing those foil legendaries. So you may not be able to find a great deal on the legendary Ursula, but you can find a lot of deals on this one. For a playable legendary at $14, this is a buy for me all day. This particular card has already 1v1 implications. It's been shown to be at least good enough to be included in a lot of the control lists. But if a multiplayer version of the game starts to take off in popularity, similar to like a commander type format for Magic the Gathering, and kind of garnering that casual tabletop gameplay more so than it is right now, this card absolutely skyrockets, because this card is absolutely like S tier for a multiplayer game. And for me, at $13 and $14, whatever here, there's only upside for this particular card with the addition of like multiplayer popularity in the future. All right, next up we've got John Silver, Alien Pirate. Again, this is another one. I think it's probably pretty close to its bottom right now. It could go a little lower, but again, I don't think I see many of the legendaries getting much lower than they are right now. For him, he's just a very good value card. The biggest problem for him is that Amber right now is just so heavily loaded on that 5-drop spot that by the time you play a 6-drop, it just feels like you didn't necessarily need to, and you had just been better off playing one more 5-drop that generates 3 lore and just being done with the game. Now, however, if that changes and they take more of a mid-range approach, this guy is absolutely insane. He's inkable at the 6-drop spot, has an immediate effect when he comes into play, and that effect is repeatable every turn by him questing, which whenever you can stop your opponent from winning while you're also progressing your win condition, that's just an amazing card. Again, he has a lot of keywords on him too. I mean, you got Storyborn, Villain, Alien, Pirate, Captain. And we know one of those words already is useful as far as being a captain. So if there's other interactions in the future, he's got the opportunity to benefit from a whole lot of them. I do think this is a great pickup right now. Like I said, if you can pick these up maybe closer to $10, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future for this card to be an absolutely huge piece of the metagame. Maui, Hero to All, absolutely amazing card, but similar to the other rares on the list. Again, 148 listings right now, at $10 a piece. This guy probably ends up being a $3 or $4 card. Once more inventory gets out there, any extra copies that you have of Maui would be a good time to move those. Maleficent, biding her time is kind of what we can already see starting to happen. She is already half almost of her market price right there. And again, this is a card that parallels the Lilo identically, just in a different color. And we can already just see the demand on these decreasing. Supply is going up. I do think this settles probably around a $2 or $3 card as well. Any extra copies you have of these Maleficents, I would be trying to move those at the current market prices. Then we've got the Queen here. The Queen's kind of held steady around here. I think this is probably where she's going to stay. She's not getting ignored by any stretch of the imagination. She's been relevant for a while in the control decks that are out there. She's not broken. She's not busted. She is good when she gets in play. And she's inkable, which means she's never really going to be a conditional card for Amethyst. But I don't think she's got a lot of opportunity to go anywhere from here. I think she probably settles close to $5 or $6. So no real urgency to, liquidate all the ones that you have. But I don't think there's a lot of opportunity for her long term to go up from where she's at right now either. This Ariel here is much higher than I would have thought it would be, honestly, when I get to this point in the list, to see a card that's basically seeing no play at all in the rare spot, still garnering a $6 price tag. I could easily see this card ending up as a bulk rare very soon. I would move these if you have them. $6 a card is a lot. I mean, that's the pack price at MSRP in and of itself right there. This card could blow up in the future. However, again, it's just a rare, and we've kind of already seen the ceiling for the most popular rare that we could have right now, and I don't ever foresee this one necessarily getting there. Not being inkable is a big drawback. Stats are pretty low for a 4-drop. You really have to build a deck around just making this card good. So I just don't foresee it ever really taking off. I would definitely be cashing out at $6 a piece. Taka, very similar to John Silver here. I think we're probably very close to the bottom for Taka, and it's a card that really could start seeing more play. It is a very decently statted 6-drop. The ability is not bad. Again, whenever you can advance your win condition without slowing, and while slowing your opponent's win condition down, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think this is a very low risk buy. Again, you could probably pick a lot of these up for $5 or $6. And at that point, I don't know that it can drop much lower than a pack price being a legendary at any point in time. It is inkable, and it's a card that I can see the longer the game goes, the more opportunity that a deck that needs this arises. be a good 1-2 buy and hold for right now. All right, we've got Han Scheming Prince up next. Very similar one here. Very good rare. I think he's going to be a staple 4 of in Emerald for a while. He's in that kind of transitional spot in green, jumping from your 2 lore generators to your 3 lore generators, and the fastest one that you have. I do think this guy probably settles around $3 or $4 again, just because he's a rare. Similarly, we have Let It Go and Lantern here. Again, probably cards that settle around $2 to $3 just due to their rarity. Nothing more so to it than that. Like rares in general, and to summarize on those, rares in general, I would probably be selling any extra copies I have. They're going to be the cards that are coming to market most often, and just not going to be able to hold these higher prices regardless of how scarce product is. There's still product getting opened. Got some more rares here. The Grab Your Sword, again, similar. It's in the starter deck, which is amazing to me that it held its price as long as it did. But again, there's starter decks on the shelves still. It's in every single starter deck. You can still get it out of packs. It's a card that just it can't hold these values for long term. Now, Beast is kind of an interesting one here. He's been a low legendary for a while now. He has started to tick up just a little bit. And I do think this guy is a safe buy as well. His ability right now doesn't do much because he has to be basically pigeonholed into being paired with Steel. And Steel's already pretty hungry for uninkable cards in their list, and he doesn't really outpace any of the other uninkable cards that they're looking for in there. However, that could change very easily in set 2. We could see Red with the ability to maybe drop a character into play that just does 1 damage to a character when it comes into play. Effects like that will be more common the more sets we get, and as such, a decently statted Rush character at 5 with that extra ability on there could go up quite a bit. Again, this is a card I would not be unhappy to pick up. You could probably still pick up a few of them for $5 or $6 a pop. And again, a legendary out of a $6 pack is probably never going to drop too much lower than pack price. So a very safe pickup for a long-term hold. A card that only gets better with the addition of more sets and has the opportunity to really be displayed in its full power there. Han's 13th in line. This card is surprising to me that it is backwards from its market price right now. Being a super rare, it is a little bit more rare than the other ones out there. I think it's pretty much a 4 of in just about every Steel deck that's been popping up right now as well. So I don't know why it would not be trending up higher. I know it's a very high demand card in our local market where a lot of people are interested in picking them up so they can play Steel. It's a very good card. Again, we've talked about the ability to slow your opponent down while advancing your win condition, just being a very strong effect. But for whatever reason, this card's price hasn't reflected it. I don't think there's a ton of meat on the bone. I think this card could easily settle at like $7 or $8, just being a super rare. So at a $4 purchase, it's not a big thing, but I definitely would not be looking to sell at $4 a card at this point either. All right, next up, we've got Robin Hood Unrivaled Archer, another super rare. It's a little on the low end, even though it is playable and has shown itself to be a good role player in the decks that it is in. I do think that this card's pretty close to its bottom right now. I don't foresee it getting much lower than like a $2.50, $3 card. So I wouldn't hesitate to hold on to him for the time being. If blue does kind of emerge as this hard counter to a Steel meta, it absolutely could end up being a high demand card. Again, that 4 toughness is a little low, lower than you probably want to go into an anti-Steel meta, but the card draw is nice as well, and being inkable makes him still viable in most decks that would consider running him. But I don't think he's going to be moving a whole lot from this $4 price point. If you've got your play set, hold on to your play set. If you've got extras, you're probably fine to move them, or you're probably fine to keep them either way. Similar, we got Genie on the job here. I really do like this Genie, but I think he's probably about where he's going to settle at, kind of in that $4 range as a card. He is a nice top end for Emerald. The evasive is very, very relevant in the current metagame. The disappear can be extremely backbreaking as well. But being uninkable and a color that really is looking to close out at like the 5 spot and this guy being 6 can limit his ability to be put in as more of than like maybe 2 to 3 tops copies in a deck. So I think he's probably about where he's going to settle in that kind of $3 to $4 range. So again, this is probably fine at this price point here. Fishbone Quill. Again, this is another rare. It is being played in the Bell deck. I do think the Bell deck is probably, one of the lower tier of the top tier decks. Again, I think a lot of its viability is just the presence of a large steel meta at the moment. I think this card is very high for its role in those decks. And again, being a rare, I think this thing's probably going to settle around probably $1 or $2. I would definitely not hold on to any extra copies ahead of that. Getting close to the end of our list here now, we've got the Aladdin Heroic Outlaw. Starter deck card. Again, this is probably one of the better super rares in the set. However, its availability is going to be what drives the price down on this card. He's probably going to settle around $2 to $3. If you've got extra copies, I would probably move them. Foil copies, nothing special either, as they are foil in the starter deck. So again, just a great card all the way around. Just its commonality and just ease of acquiring are just going to keep the price down on this particular card. Gantu, this is kind of a testament to how low I think it's possible for these legendaries to go. He may drop a little lower, but this guy is unplayable, and honestly, due to the way he's designed, I don't know if there's a way to make him more playable. He does have the captain and alien tags, so if there's ever any card that just really boosts those particular tags, he could be viable in that scenario. But Steel's already got bigger and better 8-drops. I mean, Maui is just a straight stat upgrade for him, and honestly, his under arrest ability doesn't really do anything. So being almost unplayable, this guy's still almost worth pack price. So it kind of gives you a good bottom for whatever legendary you may be picking up. I do not think this is a legendary worth picking up because the upside and likelihood of him being playable is very slim. Really the only shot these particular cards have of going up, like I said, is if the legendary logo gets updated and then all of a sudden these $4 Gantus become the unofficial kind of like shadowless Pokemon set of Lorcana. Magic Mirror here, again, another rare, probably going to settle around $2 to $3 tops. And that brings us to our last 3 here. Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. Again, a card that's higher than I would have thought. I think a lot of it just has to do with it being a higher rarity Jasmine. It's probably going to settle, again, probably $2 to $3 range. She's probably close to her bottom right now. Mickey Mouse, Wayward Sorcerer. Again, super rare, but in the starter deck, and you have a foil in the starter deck, so just not going to have a lot of opportunity to ever really appreciate in value. Maybe way down the road, well after all the super rare or all the starter decks have long been off the shelves. But for right now, I think these guys pretty close to his bottom, and it's probably not going anywhere up from there. And then Just in Time, again, just another one of the rares to finish off with here. And again, same as the other rares, this is probably going to end up being a $1 to $2 card. I would move any extra copies that you have right now. So there you guys have it. There's kind of my 2 cents on what the Lorcana singles market is doing right now and what we can expect going forward in the future. Let me know what you guys think of the singles prices for Lorcana right now in the comments down below. And until next time, guys, Hobby Hero.